As the movie starts, we are told the story number 1, which is the story of a king and a queen of the kingdom of Long Tralis. The king loved his queen a lot. He wishes that his queen always stays happy, but unfortunately, the queen can never become a mother. Due to this, she remains sad. King calls upon the doctors of all the kingdom to treat his queen, and no one could understand her disease, so no one helps them. Then one day, King calls the circus people in his palace so that they will entertain them and the queen will have fun. But one of the women was pregnant in the circus. After seeing this, the queen gets upset. She gets aggressive and then begins to break things in her room. The king loved his queen, so he makes her believe that he can do anything. On the next day, a man who is tall, slim and old comes to the palace. He claims that he can help Queen in this matter. King says that before you, many people came and claimed this, but no one could help us, so how can you say with this confidence? Then that man explains to him that this is possible. And now the question is that how many limits can he cross for having a child? On this he says, till the last limit. The old man says, I know how nature works. The world is in a balance. He says, if you want to get a life, you also have to sacrifice a life so that all things will remain in balance. They both agree for it. Now, the king is given a target to kill a sea creature, and after killing they will take out its heart, and then that heart will be cooked by the lady who is pure and single, and after this the queen will eat the heart and she will become pregnant. Because they wanted a child, so the king goes out for his target, and from the first river he gets his target. It was a big white monster. The king goes into the water to kill him. The monster was sleeping and king attacks him. The king gets succeeded but also gets injured during this fight, so unluckily he dies. But right before his death, he has taken out the heart of that monster. The queen brings that heart inside the palace while covering it with a cloth. Among the maids of the palace, there was a lady who was pure and single. She was given orders to cook the heart for queen, but she was feeling weird while cooking heart, and she also suddenly becomes pregnant. When the heart was cooked, the queen ate that, and finally she also becomes pregnant. Then the queen and the maid delivered their babies at the same time. The both kids were boys. The queen names her son Elias and the maid names her son Jonah. Then the story is shown after 15 years. Now these kids have grown up. Queen is happy with her son as she gets a new life. Those two kids were born at the same day, same time, but they were different from normal babies. Their hair was white and their hair was representing the sea monster. They both looked the same. They seemed like twins. They were really close to each other. They used to stay together because they were friends. But the queen doesn't like their friendship. She always explains to her son that you are a prince and you can't be a friend of a maid's son. Elias ignores his mother. Besides this, they meet up. They also had the ability to breathe in water. To hide, they also go in that river in which that monster was killed. Now, the queen warns her maid that stop your son or I'll send you and your son out of this kingdom. Jonah and Elias ignore them. They used to meet and one day they cross the limits. Jonah wears Elias' clothes and goes in front of the queen. At first, the queen didn't recognize him as her son or not, as she was suspicious. When she acknowledges the reality, she orders to move Jonah from the kingdom. Elias tries to stop him, but he never stops. Now, Jonah cuts the roots of a tree with a knife. The water starts to flow, and then Jonah says that as far as this water is clear, understand that I am alive. And when the water becomes red, you may realize that my life is in danger. While saying this, he goes from there. So many months passes. Elias always comes to see this water, but one day it becomes red. Then he understands that Jonah's life is in danger and something is wrong. Then he goes from the kingdom without telling his mother. He goes in search of him. Here in the kingdom, his mother was searching for him. She didn't find him. Here, Elias finds Jonah's house. Jonah had married a girl. Because their faces looked the same, they recognize him as Jonah. Then he comes to know after asking that Jonah went to the forest 5 days before and he didn't return yet. Elias also goes into the forest to find Jonah. There, the queen is worried about his son. She searches him in the kingdom. but she doesn't find him. Then she again calls that old man, but that old man again demands the same. He says that if you want your son back, then you will have to sacrifice a life. And she agrees on this. Jonah was stuck in the forest. He was also injured. Then the flying monster attacks him. He tries to kill him. Jonah starts shouting. After listening to his voice, Elias finds him. He kills that monster with his sword. But that flying monster was his own mother. He doesn't know that he has killed his mother. But that was the demand. Life for life. Jonah's life was safe now. And Elias becomes the king of the kingdom. Here the story ends. The story number 2 is about a king and an old lady. Here the king is regular. He is always surrounded by the girls. He drinks all the time and he didn't find any queen yet, the one who he could accept by heart and marry her. Two old women live in a village near that palace. They lived alone and they never came outside the house. They were also unmarried, and it is clear that they were alone and would die alone. But their voices were very sweet, as they were old, but their voices were not old. One morning, one of them was singing. Then the king listens to her voice. King likes her voice. He follows that voice. But suddenly, that old woman moves to her house, due to which the king is more curious to see her. The king thinks that she may be a beautiful girl, and she would be shy. One of her name is Dora and another is Emma. Dora was very clever and greedy, but Emma is simple and straightforward. When Dora sees that king is at their door, here her heart filled with greed. She thinks that their luck will change. Besides this, they have spent their whole life alone. She asks the king from inside to come after a week. Then I'll show you one part of my body. After hearing this, king thinks that he has got his love, but he doesn't know that there are two old ladies. Their skin also looks old, but they try to make their fingers look young. Dora applies some herbs on her finger, but her fingers are still looking old. While seeing her fingers, she starts crying. But on the other side, Emma, who had put her fingers in her mouth for days, the fingers were looking better now. And today 1 week also completed. King had to visit to see her because Dora is clever, so she shows Emma's finger instead of her. Now, the king doesn't control his feelings. King wants to see them, but they doesn't show themselves because they know if the king will come to know about this act, he will hang them. Then she says that I'll visit your palace at midnight, but the condition is that there should be darkness and all candles should be blown off. King agrees. Emma tightens Dora's body with glue chemicals so she would look young at midnight. A guard comes to bring Dora, and according to her condition, there was darkness in that palace. In the morning, King realizes that there is something wrong, and he sees her in light. Here he comes to know that he spent a night with the old lady. He becomes aggressive and he throws Dora outside from the window of his palace. But Dora survives in the forest and a magic happens to her. A witch arrives while seeing Dora. The witch makes her a young lady who had long hair. The next day, the king went to the forest for hunting, and he was in love with Dora at first sight because she had become a young lady now, so the king brings her to his palace. He decides to make her queen. Dora doesn't know anything about how she becomes young, but she remembers her sister Emma. She also invites her to her own wedding. Even Emma also doesn't know that her sister is now a young girl, and soon she will be a queen. Dora sends an expensive dress to her sister Emma. Emma come there in that wedding dress. She asks Dora how she became young. Dora tells her the whole story. Then she also wishes to become as young as her sister. When Emma asked Dora how he became young, Dora replied in a joking way, I put off my old skin. But Emma considers it true. Then she goes to an ironsmith and promises him to give him her necklace and her expensive dress if she removes her skin. Ironsmith was more stupid than Emma. He takes her into the forest and removes her skin, and it was a pretty disturbing scene. She returns in the same condition, and it was obvious that she would die, and she dies. On the other hand, her sister doesn't stay young for long as she started to grow old again. When she realizes that she is turning again into an old lady, she runs away from there. She returns returns to her real age and becomes an old lady again, and the story ends here sadly. Now, the story number 3, which is also of a kingdom. The king is weird in this story. His queen passed away many years ago. Violet is his daughter and he never got married. He doesn't love her daughter Violet from the heart. One day, king sees that a parasite insect is on his hand who sucks blood. The king likes him. He makes him suck his blood every single day. He keeps him in a glass box. He makes him suck blood. As time passes, that insect grows up. On the other side, Violet, who is young now, she dreams of a prince. But king is irresponsible. He never cares about that. The king was happy with that parasite who had grown up. But one day that parasite becomes ill and he dies. Then the king puts off his skin. He says to his daughter that this is the time to find a husband for you. He says, I'm going to arrange a competition. The one who wins, he will get you. Violet becomes happy on this but also gets upset because she wants to search for her own self. But she agrees on her father's decision. It was declared in the whole kingdom. Then king displays the skin of the parasite into his palace. The one who will tell that whose skin is this, he will win. Many people answer, but no one answered properly because usually this parasite never grows older. Then an ugly man enters the palace. Everyone becomes afraid of seeing him. He also wanted to participate in the competition and the king also allows him. That man tells after smelling it that whose skin is it, due to which Violet and king become afraid. Violet is scared. She comes to the roof of the palace while weeping. She stands on the roof for suicide. King makes her understand that I have to fulfill my promise. Now this is your fate and accept it. Violet says, what kind of father you are? You're giving your daughter to an ugly man. She says, I'm a queen, dad. But king gives her daughter to that ugly man. He takes Violet very far in the mountains with him and Violet cries for many days. But when that man goes on hunting one day, on the other mountain, she sees a woman. She asks her for help. She says that I am also queen. A devil has kept her here, but they both are at a distance from each other. She could not help her. That lady calls her sons. They help princess. They help her with a rope, but suddenly that man arrives. With the sport of rope, he also goes to the other side. They get succeeded in cutting the rope, but he attacks them. He kills everyone except Violet. He sees her aggressively, but she hugs him. With this, he calms down. When that devil makes her sit on his shoulder, Violet cuts his neck wisely and that devil dies there. Then she arrives at her kingdom where his father was ill due to that insect. Violet puts the head of the devil in front of his father. The king was sad about his decision and here he dies. Violet becomes a brave girl and after his father she was the queen of the kingdom. And here the story ends and this movie is also finished. Thank you for watching.